Dear you, you're listening to Sincerely Juliannie, a letter style podcast dedicated to sharing honest conversations about love, identity, culture, and everything in between. I'm your host, Juliannie Ayala, and welcome to your very first letter. Whew, girl, can y'all tell I've been practicing that? I'm so excited. Oh my God. Round of applause, round of applause. This is my very first episode of my very first podcast. I'm so happy to be here. I've received so much love and support from my friends and my family. For those of y'all that know me, y'all know that this has been a long time coming, and I'm just so happy to get started today. It's a very special day. So what we're going to get into today is going to be very introductory. I'm going to tell y'all who I am, who the hell is Juliannie, what's Sincerely Juliannie, how did that come about, why now, and then I have some Q&A questions that we can definitely get into. I'm super excited for that. What is Sincerely Juliannie? How did that come about? So I told myself that I always wanted a podcast that was kind of like a letter. And originally it was going to be like Dear Jules, Dear Juliannie, but then I was like, Dear Jules kind of like limits the audience of who it's for. Dear Jules is obviously like for me, and I feel like coming into this podcast, I really wanted it to be something that is sincere and something that's for you all and not just for me. I really want to have conversations that kind of resonate with a lot of people, and these are conversations that you think of like, oh, I know somebody could hear this. I know, tell a friend to tell a friend. Sincerely, Juliannie, obviously that's a letter to you from me. And I feel like that fits me a bit more because although it's, my world and y'all just living in it, it's not always going to be about me. So, again, these letters and these conversations are for you at the end of the day. So, a little bit about myself. So, my full name, Juliannie Ayala, I told y'all that. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, Dorchester specifically. Shout out my Dorchester babies. I recently just turned 22 on July 7th, and I'm so excited. Shout out my Cancer babies. And I also recently just graduated with a bachelor's degree in journalism and legal studies at the University of Massachusetts of Amherst. And that kind of ties into why I'm doing this now. So obviously, like as a journalist, I've done a lot of work with interviewing people, writing, and sharing stories. And that's kind of what I've always been about. So in college, I feel like I couldn't truly find my purpose. I didn't really want to report on hard news. I knew that I always wanted to be in front of the camera because, girl, that's where I am right now. Okay. But so journalism has been my girl. I loved writing. I love sharing stories. Like, that's been my thing. And in college, I couldn't find something that I really wanted to do. And I feel like I've always loved to listen to podcasts. I've always tuned in. Right now, my favorite one, Keke Palmer. Baby, this is Keke Palmer. That is my girl. She is my inspiration, and I love that. So, so why now? Why am I doing this podcast now? So, I told myself that I always wanted to do a podcast and that I always wanted to start up my channel. And people that have been following me are always telling me, like, girl, like, you could do good on a YouTube channel. And I'm like, hey, girl, like, really? And deep inside, I knew that that was my calling. And now that I've graduated, I have nothing but time, honey. I have nothing but time. And I truly do feel like this is a good time. And people are like, I told myself, wait till you get your life together. Baby, my life is not together right now. And here I am starting this podcast because I just got to get it going right now. And sometimes you got to start from nothing to get somewhere. And that's why I am here. What to expect from Sincerely Juliannie? Well, I am looking to have a lot of versatile conversations. I'm all about versatility. I'm all about growing. I'm all about changing. So I'm open to anything and everything. I think what I really want to value most are my guest episodes. For those that have been following me, like on Instagram and other social media platforms, I've been promoting my podcast to kind of center Bostonians. Like, if you're a small business owner, if you're a content creator, if you are an artist, if you're just a local and just want to come up here and yap and talk about the city and stuff, like, that's what I'm about. I'm about culture, love, identity, anything that you want to talk about, like, we could talk about it here. But I also want to emphasize that I do want to center solo episodes as well. I feel like this could be my platform to really share topics that I'm interested in. Like, let's say, for example, like I have ideas of like navigating womanhood, especially as a 22-year-old, and navigating your early 20s. College experience. I would love to open the floor to talking about college experience. I feel like while that is still fresh, I feel like a lot of young folks have come to me asking for advice about college, and I'm so open to talking about that. What is the overall goal for Sincerely Juliannie? Right now, honey, I'm going with the flow. I am. I'm here to have fun. I'm not trying to have like a structured format. If we just have these conversations and, conversations are going to flow, that's what I'm about too. Like, I'm just here to grow, to talk, to yap, because your girl loves to do that. And yeah, I did want to say that my target audience is you, whoever's watching. I don't have a specific target audience. If you feel like I said before, if this resonates with you, if this resonates with your mom, your dad, your grandpappy, or whatever, it resonates. And that's what I'm super, super excited for. I feel like I'm giving y'all like the surface level, because if I could really tell y'all about what I really want to say about myself, I just won't stop talking, okay? Now here's for the good stuff. So on Instagram, I asked my followers to ask me some questions that they would love to hear on the first episode. And I feel like this was a good thing to do in the first episode, because y'all could get a feel of the type of things that I love to talk about. And I want y'all to kind of resonate with everything that I'm about to say. And I'm not saying I'm a therapist, and I'm not saying that, like listen to everything that I got to say. Pick up what fits you. Take everything that you need to take. Whatever you leave here with, that's all. That's you. That's your business. Okay. But I have my questions here. I'm just gonna pull it out randomly, and we gonna get into it. Okay. I hope it's not deep. I did look at these questions a bit, and I'm like, oh, y'all asking me this on the first date? God. Whew. Okay. It says, how should one manage friendships of 5 to 10 plus years where you don't align anymore? So I feel like this really depends on the situation. I feel like I'm going to say quality over quantity. If your friend is not serving their purpose anymore, that is okay. Every friendship serves different purposes. And I feel like a lot of people associate distance with beef, and it don't always got to be that way. And it's different, because if this is like a 5 to 10 plus years where y'all are just falling out for no specific reason, y'all are just getting distant, it's okay to get distant. It's okay to get distant, and that don't mean nothing. Like, that always don't need an explanation. I feel like there could be a lot of situations where I know me and my best friends, we don't talk for days, but then we be like, hey girl, how are you? And that's how it is. So I think there's definitely those friendships where you have to set boundaries. If this person is not respecting your boundaries, if this person is disrespecting you in some sort of way, ask yourself, why are they? What am I doing that's wrong? Because you also got to take accountability too as a friend. And I feel like it's really important to set those boundaries. But if it's one of those situations where they're not respecting your boundaries, then baby, that's not your friend. That is not your friend anymore. And that's okay. People come and go. Okay? People do come and go, and that is okay. I feel like if it's one of those situations where you did set those boundaries and it's not clicking in their head, you may have to deal with confrontation, And I feel like if it's those friends that also don't really respect your privacy, if they're all up in your business, if they get jealous that you have other friends, that you're doing other things, then that's not your friend, that's your lover. They're in love with you. And I'm always saying that. There's some friends that be very, very possessive, and it is okay to not align. And I feel like a lot of people be stuck on, oh, but I've been friends with them for 5, 10 plus years. And that's where the quality over quantity comes in. Because if it's not providing you any benefits, then what's the purpose? What's the purpose? Okay, that's it. Okay, next question. I hope that answers your question, girl. Another good one. How do you not let fear get in the way of reaching your goals? I feel like I'm learning this right now. I am my biggest critic. I am always in my head. I live in my head rent free. And it gets to the point where I start to overthink a lot of things. And I live in the future a lot. I think about what if this doesn't help my future, or what if it doesn't do this. Like coming into this podcast, I was definitely that person that was like, what if this don't blow up? And then I'm like, that's not the purpose of it though. The goal is not to blow up. The goal is to make an impact on somebody, and that's that. I feel like you have to keep reminding yourself that everything happens for a reason, and that's going to be an advice that I'm always going to say on this podcast. Everything happens for a reason, and God has a story written for you. And if you are not a religious person, I totally respect that. But like everything happens for a reason in the sense that every decision that you make, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. At least that's what I believe, and that's what I try to tell myself, that at the end, it's all going to be worth it. When you have that positive mindset, that's what kind of gets you going. It gets me going, because right now, doing this podcast, I literally had so many like, what if I don't, Girl, slow down. All you got to do is slow down. And I feel like that fear consumes us to the point where it drains us, and then we burn out before we could even get started. So how do I not let it affect me? I don't have the perfect answer, but I will say that it really depends on you, your mindset, and so much more. Okay? Start with switching that mindset. Start with putting positivity into that atmosphere, and start telling yourself that everything will be okay. I remember there was this one time where I really thought that I was not going to be anywhere. I was in my car, in my head, just feeling nothing but pain. And then I kid you not, and I put this on everybody's grave, I looked up at the billboard that was right next to my exit going home, and it said, everything will be okay. And I was like, oh, that's it. That's all I needed to know. Sometimes those little signs, you're not tripping. Sometimes those signs are really, they're real, okay? So I know it's easier said than done, but hopefully that can help a little bit. So the question is, where's dating experience, and what did you learn from it? So, I've only been in 2 serious relationships, and the good thing about that was that we were friends first. So I never really was like dating around or dating people that I didn't know until like this year. So this past spring, I was in DC. So he was from Maryland. And I don't know how they get down. I know these Boston men be different, but this is a whole different breed. But I went on this date, and we were going to get some dinner, and I'm a very outgoing person, as y'all can see. Like, I'm very open. I may be a little shy at first, but I really do not like awkward. So I'm going to break the ice, and I'm going to ask you a question. So I remember, we just talking, and keep this in mind too. Remember this. I was, asking questions about like his career, who he is, what he do, and he made it known, but not like in like a cocky kind of way. Like, he worked, I think it was for like a tech company or something, and he made it known that he was stable financially. And I'm like, okay, but again, I'm not in it for the money. I just want y'all to remember that. So, I'm asking all these questions, and I don't know what to ask. And we're on Hinge. I met him on Hinge, and I know my dad probably watching this like, oh, this is why you shouldn't be on them damn apps. But listen, your girl was bored, and it was for the plot. Anyways, so I'm asking him a question. What should I get to know? Like, what should I know about you? And the first thing that he said was, that you should run. I said, huh? I said, what? I said, what? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, and then I look at his face, and he's serious. And I'm like, what do you mean I should run? And he's like, I'm not an easy person to deal with. Like, I don't trust people. I don't like people. And in my head, I'm like, so why the hell am I here? Like, why am I here? And I remember, like, my heart started beating a little bit, because I was like, I'm kind of scared. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, my dad was right. Oh my God, my mom was right. But I'm like, trying to keep it cool. And I'm really trying not to laugh, because I don't do good in awkward situations. But when I tell you, this man was so serious that when he told me that I should run, I almost believed him, and I almost started running. But I did go to the bathroom. I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'm texting my homegirls, and I'm like, y'all, he talking about I should run. One of my homegirls literally said, baby, believe him, and you should. And I literally remember just being like, I think that's more awkward. Like, I don't know. Like, I think my purse and my keys was still at the table. Like, I don't know. I definitely could have, but I was just like, nah. So anyways, so I get back, and I'm like, I literally remember saying, I'm back. Like, like, hey, trying to like not show that I'm scared. And he was like, you want to go tell your homegirls? I said, and I kid you not, I'm laughing right now, but I kid you not, I was like, what? Like, my high pitched voice. I'm like, what? Like, no. I was scared.
Yo, the nigga called you out on what you did. Text your homegirls. Yeah.
He said, you want to go text your homegirls? I said, was he in the bathroom with me? Like, oh my God. So now the bill come, and I do this thing where it's not really a test, but I don't expect nothing from no man. I don't expect nothing from nobody. So I always go into, like, if I'm going out, I expect to pay for myself because I don't expect nobody to, cover me. So I asked him, so how are we doing this? How, are we going to put it on one card and I send you the money? Or are we going to do two cards? Are we going to split it? And he was like, oh, if you want to pay for you could pay for yourself. Huh? Like, again, like I said, I wasn't expecting nothing from nobody, but that response was like, he goes like, I could pay for you, but I mean, if you want to pay for yourself, you can. And at this point, you know what? I am about to pay for myself. Because if you giving me that option at this point, I'm not going to be like, oh, yeah, can you pay for me? I'm not doing that. At this point, no. So whatever. Mind you, this is the only meal that I could afford for the week. The only meal that I could afford for the damn week. And he pull out his wallet, and it's a couple $100. And I'm like, damn, did I mess up? Should I have been like, whatever. And then it was just like such an awkward date. And that was like my first dating experience, and it was my last. And the other part of the question was, what did you learn from it? I learned to not be on them dating apps because ain't no point. And also, when he tell you to run. Best believe he mean it. That's all I can learn from it. Okay, next question. Oh my God, this question. What are your travel goals? Get a damn passport. That's it. That's the only answer I would say that. Travel goals, get a damn passport, and be financially stable to afford wherever I end up. That's it. How does my fupa look? What's a lesson you learned the hard way, but wouldn't trade it for anything? I think the biggest thing that I generally had to learn was to just let them. Shout out to Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins, because and this doesn't have to pertain to just relationships. I think truly just understanding that no matter what situation you're in, like if you're working in retail and that customer is giving you a hard time, let them, because at the end of the day, you still getting paid. If your man is giving you less than the bare minimum, let them and let them go. Because after a while, I started to realize that I'm a very giving person and I give my all very soon. And that's okay. And I also told myself to not be ashamed of how I love. Because you cannot heal everybody, okay? You cannot heal everybody. You are not a therapist, okay? You cannot expect people to think the way that you do, to act the way that you do. Because when you have those expectations from everybody, you're going to get disappointed. So when you start to just let them be, you start to realize that they didn't serve your purpose. But I'm not saying like, if somebody's disrespecting you, don't let them. Don't let them, because you don't tolerate disrespect. But at the same time, it gets to a point where it's just like, if you're exhausting all of your options, if you're getting to the point where you've set those boundaries, if you voiced your opinions, if you did everything that you had to do, you got to put yourself first. And I think that's what I had to learn the hard way, because I want somebody to understand me so bad, but I've been nothing but disappointed by them. And everything happens for a reason, and I'm going to keep preaching that thing. I'm going to keep preaching that everything happens for a reason. If you're exhausted explaining yourself, Why keep trying? Okay? And it was definitely hard for me because I think I was at a point in my life when I started to realize that I wanted somebody to defend me so bad. But the only person at the end of the day that can defend you is yourself. Okay. Okay. How did your when I seen this question, I said, again, y'all asking me this on the first date. Anyways, how did your past relationships shape you into the woman you are today? Girl, lie. On the first date, you asked me this deep question. Listen, I'm gonna keep it cute. Um, hopefully. Uh, so I was in two serious relationships, and the first one, I definitely, and I'm not trying to like downplay the relationship that I had with this person, but it was definitely puppy love, you know. And I think in that relationship, because I was so young, I want to say I was like 17, 18 or 19, one of them. I really didn't know what a relationship consisted of. And since it was my first relationship, I had to learn a lot. And unfortunately, I did make some mistakes. And I'm not saying that I was perfect, and I'm not saying he was perfect at all. But I learned a lot. And I think the biggest thing that I had to learn was that in my first relationship, love is not enough. And I say that because you can love somebody down, but I walked away from both of my relationships still loving that person because there's so many other factors that play into a relationship. And because I was so young, I feel like I didn't really find myself just yet. And I was also just starting up college. So I was getting to know who I am as an independent woman, and I was loving that for me. And I felt like I the relationship was draining me at some point, and I it got to the point where I left the relationship mentally before I left physically. And that happens with a lot of people, especially in women. And it was selfish of me to stay, and that's what I started to learn, that I stayed because I just loved him and I wanted to make sure that he was okay and I wanted to make sure that he was good, but the relationship wasn't serving me its purpose anymore. And that happens quite often. And I think what I learned from that was to start vocalizing a bit more to myself. You know, you exhausted trying to explain everything to your partner, but at some point it just gets tiring. It gets tiring, and love wasn't enough because I couldn't heal him. You have to do the work on yourself, by yourself, I mean. And that was something that I also felt like I had to take a role on. You know, as a girlfriend, I think that I have to heal you, that I have to make sure that you're good. Baby, I'm not even healed myself. Why am I here? But no, I definitely do feel like I wanted him to heal, and unfortunately, I did not go about it the right way, and that's okay. And obviously, it takes two to tango. I'm not saying that I was at fault for all the things, but I'm just saying like it was just like a two-person effort where you really have to acknowledge both of y'all's mistakes, and then at some point you realize that you got to just let them go. And then going into my second relationship, I think this was the relationship where I was broken the most. I think this relationship, I should have taken what I learned from my first one and apply that to my second one, but unfortunately, I did not give myself that time. I did jump from that relationship to the next one very quickly, and I don't regret how I went about it anyway because what I felt was real. It was real, but I think there were a lot of things that I went into my second relationship with unhealed from my first one. And I think that I fell a lot harder and I was blinded by a lot of things. And that hurt me the most in the end because it just took a toll on me mentally. And I think my second relationship definitely taught me to set those boundaries. And unfortunately, like infidelity was present in that relationship. So it was one of those things where I was like, girl, what is this man doing for you? You know? And I'm not saying these things to like downplay them. They're good people, they're good men. But it was just a season that I was in that it just didn't work out. And I don't hate them or anything. It's just one of those things where we were all young and we just had to learn from them. And I do wish them the very best. But the second relationship, I was put in a lot of positions where I feel like I couldn't defend myself, and I felt defeated. I felt defeated. And in my last, like my most recent relationship, I definitely wish that I went about things a lot better because I feel like we swept things under the rug. But I mean, it is what it is. We live and we learn, and now your girl is up, and I'm here starting my first podcast episode, and okay. And yeah, so although it was a rough patch, I feel like what I learned from both relationships, take your time. What's the rush? Baby, I'm a dog. I'm a mutt. No, I'm kidding. But just take your time and voice what you want in the very beginning. Have those uncomfortable conversations and wish you the best of luck. I know I said I was going to keep it cute, but one thing about me, I'm a yap. Okay. Next question. These are some good questions. What's the most impactful thing college taught you that no one else might have gotten? I love this question because one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about college. I miss college. The fact that I am not going back to my college dorm this semester is so sad because I feel like I got so accustomed to the college lifestyle and I miss it. I miss it. College is going to be the best 4 years. So I think the one thing that I learned was although it is good to live in the moment, enjoy your life, I think college, the past 4 years were like the quickest 4 years of my life. And I noticed that I lived in the moment a little too much. And I say that because I definitely felt like I was that person who thought that getting through college was just getting your A's and B's. And I did that, girl. I did that. I got my A's and my B's and I got my degree. But I feel like in high school, they teach you how to prepare for college. But I feel like in college, they don't teach you how to prepare for life outside of the world. And I feel like you have to take that upon yourself because it just gets to the point where it's like, all right, you paying to be here. What are you going to do with that money? Because, and I feel like Gen Z right now, we're at the point where it's like we don't know where we stand economically because there's just so much happening politically. But now we're at the point where it's just like I do feel a bit, a little bit unmotivated. But I think what college has taught me was to use your resources because college, especially like at my university, we had like a lot of resources. Like, girl, I didn't know there was a therapist. I didn't know y'all get a therapist. If I would have known we had a therapist, I would have been using that. I did not know that. You just gotta sometimes look for that. But there's also like some other like academic resources. Use those clubs, those organizations. Those are really good too. Find an organization that is going to cater to your career, that is going to cater to your future, and that's gonna give you a purpose. And I say that because I feel like for me, like there was like cultural organizations and other organizations that I feel like serve to like my social life, but not like my career life. And I think what I would tell someone going into college or that's in college and, early on, you don't have to, I'm not saying find what you need to do in life right now because girl, I graduated and what am I doing? I don't know. I'm living life. And that's okay. That's okay. Because I'm not telling you, and I'm not going to sit here and say, figure it out right then and there because those 4 years are going to go by. I'm telling you, at least have an idea and prepare yourself for the plan B, for the plan C, for the plan D, whatever it may be, because life is so unexpected and everything that's happening right now. Like, I went into college wanted to be a news reporter. I don't want to do that shit. I don't. I'm here doing what I love, and that's podcast, that's media, that's content creating. Like this is what I've been doing. Like I feel like this is my calling and it may switch up. And I guess my overall lesson that I want you to take away from this is that going into college, do not have any expectations, but at least have an idea. Prepare for it, use your resources, be mindful, and also have that balance between your social life, your academic life, your personal life, and also take the time for yourself because my days consumed of 8 a.m. to like 10 p.m. and that wasn't even considering studying or doing homework. Be mindful of the time that you have. Okay? Okay. This question kind of ties into what I was saying earlier, but this question is biggest lesson since graduating. I should have applied for more jobs. No, I'm kidding. That's not the damn lesson. I feel like I expected to have a full-time job coming out of college. I expected to have an idea of what I wanted to do with my career. And I'm at that point where it's like I'm not where I expected to be, at least. I will say that I'm grateful, to have obtained my degree. I'm grateful that I am where I'm at today. But I think I had a lot of expectations going into college compared to coming out of college. And my biggest lesson is to be patient. I feel like I'm utilizing this time right now to just find my purpose, find who I am as a person, and really find what I really like to do. And I think when I graduated, I felt kind of, what's the word? I let my fears consume me because I was like, oh my God, like I'm never gonna get a job. I'm gonna have to go back to like retail. I'm gonna have to go back to a 9 to 5. And then there was this other part of me that's like, that's okay. If I gotta do a little 9 to 5, if I gotta do a little retail job, that's okay. Sometimes you gotta understand that not everything is in your control. And I feel like it sucks too because right now the job market is so hard and it sucks. And I feel as if I I feel like I'm going through a lot of phases in my point where I don't know if y'all heard of imposter syndrome, but I'm dealing with imposter syndrome where I feel like I'm not doing enough, where I feel like I'm not enough. And I feel like the biggest lesson that I have to keep telling myself is to just be patient. And if you have to pick up a little 9 to 5, a little side job, girl, it's okay. You could do that because it's okay. And I feel like that's also why I am valuing this podcast here right now, because it's something that I love to do. And although I'm not getting paid for it, that's okay because it's something that I actually see myself doing. I find a purpose in that, and that's what matters. You can't be defeated. You can't feel defeated. You can't feel as if that you have to figure everything out right then and there. And I think that's what I'm learning right now. And although, like a lot of the factors feel discouraging and I don't know what my future holds, I'm just grateful that I have my degree and now I'm doing what I love, and that's my podcast. And I'm hoping that it all goes well, and I know it will. I'm going to manifest that for myself that, you know, but yeah, just be patient, okay? Just be patient and let things flow. Not everything you can control. Next question. Okay, this was a good last question. What do you hope people feel after listening to an episode? I want y'all to leave here thinking, okay? I want you to think about what was said, what wasn't said, I want people to feel like you're at home, okay? I want people to feel like when you're watching me or watching who's ever sitting here in these guest chairs or something, and I want them to be like, oh my God, like I love this conversation. I want to be a part of it. Or I want to have this conversation with other people. I want people to also just relate, reflect, and grow, because that's what I'm all about, and that's what I want other people to be about. Me and my girls, we be talking and we be chatting it up, and I be like, girl, this is a podcast right here, you and me, this is a podcast, like this. That's how it be. Like I feel like my friends and I were so at that point where we don't talk shit about nobody. We start dissecting their brain. We be like, why did they act like that? It's because their parents didn't love them that way, or they act like this because this happened. Like, you at that stage where you're starting to grow up and you're starting to be like, I'm not gossiping about nobody. I'm starting to understand people. And I kind of want that to come out of this. And I want you guys to have that place in that space where you're starting to have those uncomfortable conversations. You're having those conversations that we should be saying out loud, but we don't. Okay? We don't. So every episode is going to be different, whether if it's me here by myself talking about love, life, healing, childhood trauma, or not being able to find a job. Whatever it may be, something is going to resonate with somebody. And take what you can and leave what doesn't resonate. And that's okay. Okay? Not everything is going to fit, and that's just how life works, baby. That's just how the cookie crumble. So I do want to acknowledge that no matter who watches this, just think of either yourself, somebody else, and that's it. Okay? I just want you to feel at home. That's all. That's all. I need water. That's how I think.
Are you a shower singer?
I sing all the time. I was so nervous coming into this damn episode because I was just like, ah! I feel like I had so much to say, and then as soon as the camera started rolling, I was like, I forgot. Well, y'all, that concludes the very first letter. If you made it this far, thank you so much. I cannot say it enough. I'm so grateful for you. God bless you all. And I'm super, super excited to see where these next guest episodes come, where these solo episodes come. And I'm so excited to share more stories, more letters, and more ideas with you all. So if you haven't already, please go follow along on my other social media platforms. Go subscribe to my YouTube channel at Sincerely Juliannie. And tell a friend to tell a friend, okay? Because we got a lot to talk about. All right, y'all. Until next time, Sincerely Juliannie. Ah! Ah, my God. My balls are sweating.
What?
Yeah.